Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome along to your Thursday edition of Ireland AM.
It is the 9th of March, and coming up this morning, we've got Bertie, boy bands and bestsellers.
It's going to be a pretty exciting show.
And there was snow outside.
Oh, it is. Oh, it's freezing outside. It is very, very cold this morning. Now, later this hour, we are going live to LA, where it ain't so cold.
No.
Where Virgin Media News correspondent Zara King, she's touched down. She's got the latest on this weekend's Oscars, as Irish nominees have touched down with victory in their sights.
She's hanging around with the stars for a few days. Zara,
how jealous are
isn't
you?
it a very bad work trip? Poor Zara had to head off.
To be fair, I think she's just
to
landed.
LA. You know, it's tough. Yeah, she's very good. Later on, former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern, he's going to be joining us in studio to talk politics, podcasts and the presidency. That's about 8:15 this morning.
Yeah, it's really interesting podcast, that one. And he's one quarter of the chart-topping boy band JLS, Aston Merrygold, is going to be joining us to chat about the band's upcoming shows and taking to stage solo.
You're going to sing Everybody in Love?
Everybody in Love. Oh, yeah.
Put your hands up. Yep, we're going to do that in studio a little bit later on. Alan's ready to go with that, aren't you?
I'm ready for it. Don't worry about it. Now, lots on the way this morning. We've a packed show. We're also going to be chatting to best-selling author Jane Casey in the kitchen. Scott Holder is making breakfast tacos. Tommy would be very happy about that. Forager Feebee is back to show us how to brew some healthy herbal teas now. And we're rooting for all the Irish at the Academy Awards this weekend. And Deric is you have the Oscar fever this morning, Deric, because you're in Barry Keoghan's old hunting grounds, yes?
I was at Dublin Airport yesterday as the cast and crew headed off. They jetted off to the sunshine in LA. We're caught in the rain here this morning, a wet and windy one out there with more wintry showers trailing in that northeasterly direction out there today. But we've come down here to Dublin's northeast inner city. We're actually, in fact, at Belvedere Youth Club. So this is kind of a this is your life moment for Barry Keoghan, because we're going to be catching up with some of his stage school family, as well as his former casting agent, Maureen Hughes. So that's all to come right across the morning. Any relation, Al?
Alan, the relation to Barry Keoghan?
No, Maureen Hughes. The casting director. The casting director.
Have I missed something here?
Do you think we wouldn't have been exploiting that?
I mean, they're both very talented, the two of them.
Yeah,
Oscar
not
winner.
Barry Keoghan, maybe Maureen Hughes.
Okay.
Oscar winner.
Related to Mr. Hughes, then? No?
Maureen Hughes. Mrs. Hughes.
Anyway.
What time is it? It's
let's
2
move
minutes
on.
past 7. This is going to be a good one, isn't it?
Looking forward to that and hearing from Maureen Hughes.
Mr. Hughes.
It's time to get the first news of the morning. It's over to Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. Well, wintry conditions are expected in many areas today. Met Éireann says rain, sleet and snow will spread northeastwards to most areas with poor visibility and hazardous driving conditions as well. Snow and ice warnings have already come into effect right across the country. Well, for more on this now, our reporter Hannah Murphy is live from Met Éireann for us this morning. It's a cold start to the day. Hannah.
That's right, Anne. You can see it's fairly wet and windy here at Met Éireann's headquarters in Glasnevin in Dublin. But that's not necessarily the case across the country. Already this morning we know that there has been some snow in Galway, in Clare and in parts of the Midlands, with some ice as well. But Met Éireann forecasters saying that most people should expect to see some snowflakes and some ice at some point today, just depending on where you are and what time of the day it is. We do know that there is a status yellow ice warning in place at the minute, a snow ice warning until 11 o'clock. We know that at 9 o'clock that moves to a low temperature ice warning, and then another snow ice warning for Leinster, Cavan and Monaghan kicking in again at 11 o'clock tonight. So it's another cold night ahead of us, temperatures set to drop again, and obviously forecasters at Met Éireann will be keeping an eye on those weather warnings and looking at whether or not they need to be upgraded.
Now, it is possible we might upgrade that locally to orange in parts of the country when we see how it develops, as it's a very complicated situation because we have the mild Atlantic air moving up from the south, coming into contact with the cold Arctic air, and wherever they meet, you get the worst snowfall. So it's something we're keeping an eye on at the moment, but it is possible that some of the warnings will be upgraded.
So Met Éireann forecasters have described it as a bit of a smorgasbord of weather this morning. They're saying that while most parts will see some accumulations, and obviously they can't really predict exactly how much at this point, The likes of Cork and the south coast is expected to actually be pretty mild, so a bit of an anomaly there. Nonetheless, they say that there will be poor visibility in many parts of the country today, with it getting very cold this evening, and applying all the usual weather warnings and precautions to any road users today.
Hannah, thank you for that. Well, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is calling for the extension of a deal with Moscow that has allowed Kyiv to export grain through the Black Sea ports. The deal is set to expire next week. Meanwhile, the city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine remains at the centre of an intense battle between Ukrainian and Russian forces.
These high-res satellite images show the impact of many of the recent clashes in and around the city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine. Fighting in the city has totally destroyed many buildings, and most services are unavailable now for residents. For weeks, the intense Russian shelling has targeted the city and the Donetsk region and nearby villages. Moscow is waging a three-sided assault. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed not to retreat from Bakhmut. Yesterday, one of his army's generals handed out medals to soldiers fighting in the city, telling the soldiers they were fighting at the hottest point of military operations. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
To the US now, where a major blizzard has been sweeping through southern Californian mountains, and many people have been left snowed in recent days. This couple had enough food to get through a 10-day wait for volunteer rescuers to arrive and help to clear the roughly 10 foot of snow piled outside their house in Lake Arrowhead. Teams have also been delivering medication to people running low in the area and digging them out of the snow. And now it's over to Ger for your sport.
Thanks, Anna. Good morning. Tottenham are out of the Champions League. Christian Romero was sent off as they finished goalless. Elsewhere, Celtic beat Hearts 3-1 in the Scottish Premiership. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has given captain Bruno Fernandes his full backing. Fernandes was criticised for his behaviour during Manchester United's defeat to Liverpool. Ten Hag says he'll learn from his mistakes.
He's an inspirator for the whole team, and but no one is perfect. Everyone has his mistakes, and everyone has to learn. I have to learn, and he will learn as well because he's intelligent. And but I'm really happy to have Bruno Fernandes in my team, and I'm really happy that Bruno Fernandes is Harry, not on the pitch, he's our captain.
And United play Betis in the Europa League tonight. That game is live on Virgin Media 2. Josh van der Fliers says it would be naive for Ireland to be thinking about a Grand Slam ahead of their Six Nations clash with Scotland on Sunday. The entire squad trained yesterday ahead of the match at Murrayfield.
With the threat we have this weekend in the Scotland side that are playing so well, I think it would be probably naive of us to start talking about a Grand Slam or anything like that. I think it's going to be a massive challenge against a really, really good side. So, I mean, it is obviously the goal for every team going in. You want to win all your games, but it'll be such a big challenge this week that I think you can't look far past that.
And there's live Six Nations action this weekend on Virgin Media 1. England versus France is part of a double-header on Saturday that kicks off with Italy versus Wales from 1:30. That's your sport for now. We'll have more for you at 7:30. Now, what's the weather like out there this morning? Here's Deric.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Yes, thank you, Jaron. A very good morning. We're live here from Dublin's northeast inner city this morning, and ahead of all the Oscar buzz this weekend over in LA, we're off to pay Barry Keogh's former stage school at Belvedere Youth Club, and we visit later on this morning, so that's all to come this Thursday. Now, out there, let's take an open look at weather with Gary Cullen with us on cameras this morning. Not exactly LA weather out there at the moment, because we do have that status yellow snow and ice warning in place for the entire country as we kick-start your Thursday. We're looking at pretty treacherous driving conditions, especially on back and by roads. Some black ice out there as well. So please do take extra care. We're poor visibility on the roads. Plenty of hail, sleet and a little bit of snow out there this morning as the system continues to track in a northeasterly direction, and that warning remaining in place until 12 o'clock later on tonight. Now across the day, that easterly airflow and the driving seat will be fresher at times in some regions, and out there once again we're looking at some more wintry showers continuing to drag their heels up across the country, mainly confined really across the eastern half of the country. It will brighten up the further west we go. That's where we'll see the best of those conditions out there today, but another struggle. It's going to be pretty cold out there today, folks, so wrap up warm. Valleys there at about 3 to 6 at best. So across then into tonight, it's going to be another wintry one in store. Again, we're seeing more falls of sleet and snow tipping down across higher ground into lower levels as well. Black ice once again on those roads, and it will be a very cold night ahead. Sub-zero temperatures on the cards once again, with values back to about freezing to -4 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in a windy and wet northeast inner city here at the moment in Dublin. We'll be back again live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The quote devil's always got one hell of a quote.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, fare-free travel would incentivise excessive journeys. The paper reports free public transport would be overly costly and incentivise excessive travel and would result in just a 1% reduction in car travel, according to an independent report commissioned by the National Transport Authority.
Big cooling in points race for medicine courses. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The crush for many high-point healthcare courses is easing as CAO applications settle back to more normal patterns post-pandemic.
The Examiner leads with prolonging medical cases abusive. Dragging out medical negligence cases is abusive towards patients, an advocate has said, as a Clare family finally received an apology yesterday over the death of their baby 16 years ago.
Michael D weighing in on sex education in school is the top story on the Daily Mail. President Higgins has said schools must teach sex education in its fullest, and those who fail to provide it should be punished.
The Mirror's front page, naked man in field killed wife. A husband was found naked in a field after he killed his wife at their rural home. A murder trial heard yesterday. This is the case of Valerie French Kilroy, who was murdered in 2019 by her husband James Kilroy, who was pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity.
The Star leads with that same story. Naked man told cops, I killed wife and kids. Children safe, but dad on trial for mum's murder.
And the Sun also goes with strangled to death by husband. A man has gone on trial accused of strangling his wife to death in County Mayo.
And finally, the Herald goes with, here we snow again. Icy conditions could cause school closures, travel disruption and poor visibility on the roads. So do be careful out there.
But it's almost like they're rubbing their hands at it as well. Like,
what, the school's going to close?
Are we just mad for the snow? I don't think it's going to...
I don't think it's going to be too bad.
I don't think it's going to happen, but sure, we'll see. You can always get in contact with us on WhatsApp if there's anything on your mind. It's 089 611 111.
But coming up after the break, we're going to be taking a closer look at the impact of ending the eviction ban. We'll see you shortly. Sure, a lot of people know the government has made the decision to end the eviction ban currently in place until the 31st of March.
The decision has led to an awful lot of criticism from loads of people around the country to homeless charities. And joining us now to discuss are Mike Allen, Advocacy Director with Focus Ireland and Political Correspondent with the Irish Times. Jack Horgan-Jones, thank you both so much for being with us this morning. Jack, there's been an awful lot that's been going on about this, and yesterday we heard that the government had caved, the cabinet had caved to the likes of cuckoo funds and wealthy corporate landlords. What's the reasoning behind ending this eviction ban?
Well, I mean, there's two main reasons, I think. The first being that the government was very afraid about getting sued, and the Attorney General advice was that they were likely to face a legal or constitutional challenge, and because of the emphasis...
By whom?
It could be just an individual. It could be an individual landlord. It could be a representative organisation like the Irish Property Owners Association, and they have been making noises like that. But I think that, you know, there is a way which we can overemphasise the legal threat. I think while it's there, I think that would also be a disservice in some ways, because the very clear clear emphasis that was given at Cabinet was on the risk of landlord flight. And this is something that they identified, and they're very afraid of basically driving more landlords out of the market. The problem for them, from that perspective, is that it's a very clear example, particularly, and this is the opposition attack line, very clear example, the criticism goes of them prioritising the interests of one group of people, that is landlords, over the interests of another group of people, which is tenants. And it's obviously tenants who are going to be facing evictions and are going to be facing into a situation where they're being asked to pay sky-high rents and compete against each other in a market where there isn't much supply.
Mike, on this, Leo Varadkar said it was a finely balanced decision based on the overall public's interest. You know, from your point of view, Focus Ireland, you know, we're talking about, is it in the interest of the landlords? But he said it's overall public interest.
I think the government decision is shocking right across the homeless sector. Everybody who's in the homeless sector just knows how extreme how our situation is. All the beds are full, families, even under the ban, who are becoming homeless for one reason or another, are being turned away, and the local authorities are saying, look, go back to wherever you were staying before because we've got nowhere for you. So the sense that there's going to be another wave of people who are evicted from their homes coming into homelessness when there's nowhere to go is just shocking and frightening. And then to hear the Taoiseach, to go back to your question, say this is in the public interest, I would ask any Cabinet Minister to come down when this begins to hit, come down to the Focus Island coffee shop and come to the Focus Island Family Centre. And as the families come in and tell them, and we are having to tell them, we've got nothing for you, go down to the Garda station, go and sleep in your car. Tell each of them as they come in that the Cabinet has done this in the public interest. It is in the public interest that you and your children must sleep in a car. I think we begin to get a much deeper sense of what really the public interest involves.
Because I think what we're looking at here is there's long-term homeless, which is atrocious in this country as to what, you know, we know it's record levels. But it's also the hidden homeless, the people who are being evicted. There was I think it's 1,000 eviction notices that had been ordered before the moratorium came into place.
Of landlords wanting to sell up, it's over 2,000 in total.
2,000 in total,
of all the sorts of evictions.
So that's what the moratorium has prevented from happening.
Yes.
So that's going to start.
Held it back briefly.
Yeah, until the 31st of March. It's the hidden homeless that in this country sometimes they're not heard. They've moved back in with parents. They can't afford the rent. They've been evicted, and all these families are coming together. And it's also the people who feel like they're not listened to or left behind an awful lot of the time, Jack. Like when it comes to cost of living, like extra budgetary measures, it's like, well, no one thinks about us and no one cares about renters. This is all a problem of the government's making. We've got increasing populations. We've got corporate landlords who are coming in. We're driving landlords out because enough houses aren't being built all the time. Like, it just seems like it's this cycle that they're never going to end, and they're pumping billions into housing.
And how far back do you want to go? You know, I mean, really, you could go back to the start of the Celtic Tiger, the recession, the financial collapse, the property industry collapse, the failure to build enough, the failure to retain land in state ownership, the failure to think strategically. You know, it goes back over a decade or more. And it's all coming to a head now, and the politics of this are complicated and messy and volatile as well. So I think you have an instance where the Cabinet decision, as you said, was on Tuesday, and I think that by and large, that'll go through now. The government TDs aren't starting to peel off. There's no Dáil vote. But over the medium term is where this becomes more and more problematic. As we report on our front page today, there's likely to be a Sinn Féin motion on this. There's an open question over whether Nasa Horgan, the Green TD, will vote with the government.
She sat here on Monday and that looked like a woman who, she was so... and beyond about her party. She
just spoke about 3 people who made a decision who look like they haven't spoken to the public about this. And when you hear public interest, and she says, I have people coming in to my office to tell me they're going to have to move, they don't know where they're going to live.
And that could be the thin end of the wedge, because like that's just one TD, but like as these evictions kick in, and as the very difficult real-life experience comes home to the doorsteps of TDs up and down the country, the pressure will start to accumulate within the political system. I mean, we all remember when Eoin Murphy was Housing Minister, and you had that last Friday of every month, the homelessness figures coming out, and it became just this drip, drip, drip. Yeah. And ultimately, it ultimately resulted in the 2020 general election and the saliency and the relevance that voters put on housing issues. And I think that that'll come rushing back, and it'll become just this enormous pressure gauge building up on the government, and you know that will start to become more and more problematic and more difficult for them.
But are the government just throwing this onto the landlords if they were to open it up again? You know, and because it's not the landlords. There's accidental landlords out there. There's people who are using this as a pension fund for them. So for them to not have the rights when they own the property to do what they want with it, whenever the government really are the ones who created this problem.
Well, this is it. Like, and so there's a bunch of policies that they brought in. They're called the mitigation policies that go hand in hand with the decision to not extend the eviction ban. But I think there's an open question over how much these are going to work. So they're saying that like people will have the first refusal option if they're getting evicted, but many people won't have the money, obviously, to purchase, and many renters won't have the money to purchase a home. And they're saying in that instance there'll be a kind of backstop option where the local authority or an approved housing body will come in and buy that. Like, that's technically very difficult.
Yeah.
What are the criteria going to be for entering that? I mean, if
What's
you live in a €2 million
value?
penthouse, are you eligible? You know, if you make €200,000 a year, are you eligible? And what, like, how big is this going to be? Is it going to be anywhere near enough to kind of match the numbers of people who are being evicted? I doubt that very much. So I think that like there's a policy mismatch between the size of the policy problem that's coming down the tracks and the solutions that are being employed to solve it.
You're nodding along there, Mike.
Well, yeah, the scale of the response. Focus Ireland is very active in this buying tenant in situ scheme. It's a useful scheme. We proposed it 5 years ago, longer than that, so have other organisations. I think Jack is right about the limited impact of these, but the other element of it is they're so late. Every one of these has been proposed for years and years. If it was introduced when we were first Focus Ireland and others were first saying this would make a difference, it would have made a difference. Instead, at the end of the eviction ban, just on the last day, they come up with all these whiz-bang ideas which are half-baked and will take time to deliver.
And is it going to be harder now when you're talking about 5 years ago in comparison to now, where we've got houses that are more expensive than they were at the height of the Celtic
Everything
Tiger?
is harder because it's been done later. But I do think it's when there's a real danger, and the discussion, and you're talking about the long history of this and how long the mistakes have been made in the past, that you just convey the feeling to everybody that it's all hopeless and nothing that anybody can do can make a difference. Just think that the government, what we're concerned about is the families are homeless. I know what you're talking about, hidden homelessness and all the problems within the housing sector, but the most extreme is the people who have no home. There's over 11,000 people, and that's a huge level of human suffering. But if you look at the number of households who are long-term homeless, it's about 4,000. We're building 30,000 homes per year. Is it beyond our capacity to make sure that a fair proportion of the new homes that are being built, it's only 10% of the homes we need to build every year, and we could virtually eliminate homelessness? It wouldn't end the housing problem, but it would mean that the women and children and the men and the women who are really carrying the entire burden of our society on themselves and their lives would actually not be waiting until we sort the whole problem out.
Which is an issue, which comes back for the taxpayers, because we are paying a huge amount of money for this anyway.
You're paying a huge amount of money to keep people in emergency accommodation when there are homes, if we prioritise things differently, that they could move into.
There's so many things that seem practical in relation to this. As Mike just said there, does this whole thing just feel hopeless? Because I know for an awful lot of younger, you're like, when am I ever going to be able to buy a house? What's going to happen here? We'd love to hear from you this morning. 089 611 111. Mike Allen, Director of Advocacy at Focus Ireland, and Jack Horgan-Jones, political correspondent with the Irish Times, who's staying with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, guys. Now, after the break, we're going to be taking a look at this morning's papers with Jack Horgan-Jones. We'll see you then.
Now for a look at some of the stories making the news this morning. Jack Horgan-Jones has stayed with us from the Irish Times. Jack, thank you so much.
Jack, we're going to start off with the CAO applications. Looks like there's been a big drop in nursing and medicine, which isn't maybe a huge surprise given what's going on at the minute.
So I think there's a couple of things going on here. I think that partially people would have had an interest in the medical sciences because they saw so many professionals acting in that space and really stepping up to the mark during COVID. And I think there's probably a relationship between those two things.
So there's a huge boom, obviously, during COVID.
Exactly. Everyone sees doctors and nurses running to the rescue, and they all want to be like that. And that's all very laudatory. And then obviously there's an associated uptick in the amount of points that's needed for those courses. So I think that you're seeing the effect of that, people kind of stepping away from that. And it's interestingly enough stepping back towards the kind of traditionally job-safe careers like business and economics and finance and stuff like that. Where the big loss has actually been is veterinary science. I'm not sure exactly where that's down 20%. Yeah.
People don't want to work with animals.
People don't want to work with animals, never work with kids or animals. I think that's TV rather than university.
But it's just basically going back to pre-pandemic levels.
It's going back to pre-pandemic levels,
and
exactly.
And
so it's a reversion to the mean, and you're seeing that kind of glide path back to more normalised situation where they strip out all the inflation grades that happen during
to
COVID.
see environment, given all the climate crisis and stuff, has gone down 15% as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because
one.
you hear a lot about the jobs of the future being in that kind of intersection between climate and science and indeed business, as people try and make a kind of a financial living out of that as well. So it's interesting to see that going
agriculture
down.
up 18% whenever we're seeing that actually that's all been pulled away, a lot of the agriculture stuff too. So interesting.
That's what's going on in the CAO points. Let's move on to, we're staying with education, and this is, I love this line in the report. The President does not usually comment on matters of government policy. Michael D. Higgins loves commenting on matters of public policy, and he gave a speech yesterday saying that schools should be obliged to teach sexuality in the fullest sense. And this is in relation to the new curriculum that's coming in for primary schools, where he's not just focusing on secondary schools here.
Yes, so this obviously relates back to a story that happened earlier on in the week where the Catholic Primary School Teaching Association wrote to Minister Norma Foley and Minister Roderick O'Gorman, basically raising a red flag about this issue of teaching, a curriculum relating to transgender rights to primary school students. And as you say, the convention is that the office of the President doesn't comment on matters relating to government policy, but this particular occupant of the office of the President has not been slow to sally forth on a whole range of issues, and he's wading in here, saying that basic information regarding sexuality in its fullest sense should be taught. Now, he's using a speech on International Women's Day to make this point, and it's kind of buried in the second last paragraph, but nonetheless, I think that it's an important intervention, and it's one that I think is probably not going to get him, the President, in too much trouble, because it does chime with what the government has said back to the Catholic Teachers Association. They've said, look, there is a place for this, but I think it also will reignite, I think, to an extent, the debate over this and the wider culture war that we're in, to an extent, in the Western world in general, but also in Ireland, about how you handle trans rights issues, how society adapts itself and adapts pre-existing structures like schooling and curriculums.
We're slightly importing it in Ireland, considering we had the Gender Recognition Act in 2015.
It's still a very delicate for primary school children.
But the culture war around is like, transgenderism going to take over, they're going to go into, and it's been here for 8 years, we've had it done, and everything's fine, lads.
Yes,
something we have to remember. 8 years.
That's true, and I think we have to guard against that as well, because it is something that is an important public policy issue, and it's really important, obviously, to recognise the rights of trans people. But it's very important to do so in a way that doesn't, I think, import that toxification that we've seen elsewhere, particularly in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the controversy in Scotland, which ultimately played a part in the downfall of Nicola Sturgeon. So I think that you have to tread carefully, because it is volatile. It is something that can blow up around an issue like this, which is, how you adapt the primary school curriculum to recognise the existence of trans people, and to what extent, that gets folded into pre-existing structures or in sex and relationships.
Teachers and having to go back to learn, like, the appropriate way to actually teach this to young children.
What are you asking teachers to do, and how far are you asking them to go, and how should a younger person address these issues? What's the correct kind of level of information to impart?
And a lot of it is just, it's all thrown back on the teachers an awful lot of the time. But he did say sexuality in the fullest. Yeah. And this is about primary school children. So we are wondering how you feel about that. Your kids getting, basic biology about sexuality when they're in primary school. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you this morning about that. What about this? Would you do free public transport?
Why not?
It's not going to make any difference.
It's not going to, apparently not. So this is a classic kind of Eamon Ryanism, where he said this earlier on in the week, and everyone kind of threw their eyes up to heaven and said, oh my God, for the guy who brought you, shorter showers and lower speed limits on motorways, there was a great sense of frustration. But just like with shorter showers and lower speed limits on motorways, Eamon Ryan is in fact correct. And there's research published today, we have it on our front page, by Ernst & Young, which shows that if you made public transport 100% free, not only would it be very costly, costing between 550 million and 750 million per year, it wouldn't make much of a difference whatsoever. There would be a 1% drop in car use.
I'm surprised by
But there would be a 13% drop in active travel and 7% drop in cycling and stuff like that.
Right.
So what it would really damage is some of the kind of behaviours that are being encouraged under this so-called modal shift. And it would just, there'd be more people going onto buses, but it'd be harder to kind of plan services, because you wouldn't have the data that you get from when people tag on using their leap cards. So you wouldn't be able to kind of figure out which routes needed more resources and when. So it's a really interesting story, and it looks like any move towards making public transport free.
It just shows that
it's
maybe
totally kibosh now.
A lot of the public transport issue might not be down to money. It's just the fact that it actually doesn't take you to the right place where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if they sorted out the public transport situation before going trying to tackle cars, it might make things a lot easier. Again,
here's a solution: just make it cheaper. Make it a lot cheaper. Don't necessarily make it free. Make it a lot cheaper
and a better service.
And a better service.
Let's finally just move on to a beautiful beach in Keene Bay in Achill, County Mayo. So it is Oscar season, and so, look at this. An artist, Sean Corcoran, has decided to do this. I mean, poor fella. Imagine how much he'd cry when the tide comes in.
Don't even. That's all I've been thinking about since I've seen it. I'm like, the tide comes in and bye-bye Colin.
Doesn't it look like latte art? You know the way some people they do that on the top of the coffee when you get it. It looks like latte art. That's not to denigrate the work of Sean Corcoran.
Remember the programme Art Attack?
Yes. I love Neil Buchanan and Art Attack. That was so good.
Isn't that just class?
Can you tell what it is yet? Is it an Oscar winner?
Absolutely. Well, Sean gets the Oscar for that anyway.
Huge. Sean, beautiful work. Jack Horgan-Jones, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, folks.
Cheers, thank you.
Alan, what is coming up after the break?
Well, we're staying with the movies. Look at me, I'm in my director chair and everything here because we're crossing live to LA to get the inside track on who looks set to walk away with an Oscar this Sunday. That's in a few minutes. That's a wrap for now. For staying with us. Look at us in our Hollywood director chairs. We're feeling very Hollywood.
I think I'm going to break it. It's not sturdy for me.
And speaking of Hollywood, it's set to turn green this Sunday with the 95th Academy Awards taking place.
Yeah, it is. There's 14 nominations for Ireland. We're saying that there are nominations. And joining us to look ahead at the Oscars, and she's gone all the way to LA. It's Virgin Media News correspondent Zara King. Hello, Zara.
Morning,
how are you
Zara.
doing?
I'm not hearing anything, are you?
Oh, dear.
Zara? Oh, Zara?
Zara, can you hear us?
Zara, where are you? Oh, this is incredible. Oh, Zara's not going to be happy. She knows that she's on. And
we were literally talking to Zara 2 seconds before it came live, but we were going to ask her about one of the things we were going to talk to her about, which I find fascinating, is the goodie bags. Now, the acting nominees, the best actor, actress, supporting actor, get this goodie bag, and seemingly this year it's worth what is it worth? What do you think could be worth, Muireann?
I know that it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's $127,000. I think Zara can hear us now. Zara, can you hear us?
Yeah.
You can.
Hi, sorry, I was just saying to Mark, my cameraman, I was like, I haven't heard anything for a couple of seconds there, and then obviously you were trying to talk to me. Apologies for that.
You just did. You're
live telly.
You're going to be delighted that you were doing the face of, I can't hear them. Can you hear them? You're going to love that. Come here to me. Where are you standing right now, Zara?
So we are literally at the road closure where the Dolby Theatre is. I don't know, can you see it behind me here? So they've closed off the road. The preparations are now well underway. And actually around the block here, they were unveiling today what is now going to be a champagne carpet for the Oscars this year. So Jimmy Kimmel was out today unveiling that. So that's kind of been the latest bit of news from the preparations. But my God, guys, there's a lot of work being done here. It is well underway.
And Zara,
I know you're mentioning the gift bags, by the way.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but that's happening obviously on Sunday. Yeah. But tonight, our time and your time tomorrow, is the Oscar Wilde party, where obviously all the Irish are going to be celebrating together, and you're going to be there.
Yes, Alan. So this is a big event for Irish in America, for that LA Irish connection. So there's going to be a lot of big Irish stars walking the green carpet at the Oscar Wilde tonight. That takes place in Santa Monica at J.J. Abrams' place. It's called Bad Robot. Apparently a very impressive lot. I've never been there myself. We're looking forward to it tonight. And just before we came to air, just in the last 20 minutes, we've had an email confirming from the Oscar Wilde that Paul Mescal is going to attend that event. So it wasn't clear if he was going to be there or not, but confirmed just in the last couple of moments. That's a bit of new news for you this morning, that he is going to be attending. Also at that event tonight, they're going to be honouring Eve Hewson for her work, and also Kerry Condon. And playing at the gig tonight will be the Coronas. So it's going to be a really big Irish celebration tonight. It's a huge event, and it's a big opportunity. The Minister, Catherine Martin, the Arts Minister, will also attend. Big opportunity for Ireland to really pitch and sell itself as a great movie location.
Oh, yeah, because it is networking for all of that
Yes.
as well. I love the way Zara's like, it's in J.J. Abrams' place. Never been there myself, but I'll see it later on tonight. It's going to be lovely. Going to be great crack. I more want to like find out what Zara is going to be wearing on the green carpet, but we don't have time for that because the Oscar ceremony taking place on Sunday. I know you're going to be covering all of this for us, and we really do appreciate it. Come here to me. I mean, she's in LA, she's gone.
Yeah.
The ratings have been going down and down and down. Obviously, there was the big news with the slap last year between Will Smith and Chris Rock. Are they hoping to try to bring people back? As you mentioned, Jimmy Kimmel's hosting. They've tried to, like, are they hoping more people are going to watch this year?
Yeah, I think so, Maureen. And I think one of the things that's come up actually is that they're hoping that maybe the slap last year will maybe pique people's interest and perhaps they'll be watching very closely to see what's going to unfold this year. Now, I know that today when he was speaking, Jimmy Kimmel was saying that he didn't expect there to be any bloodshed this year, especially as he unveiled that champagne carpet. He said, this carpet is so beautiful. He said that he hopes there wouldn't be any bloodshed. He said people have been asking if there was going to be any trouble this year. He said, I think the decision to go with the champagne carpet rather than a red one shows just how confident we are that there will be no bloodshed. But certainly those broadcasters here in the States will be hoping that the Oscars can attract and bring in bigger audiences this year. Now, I would say as well that something else that's come up is that the numbers at the box office in terms of the interest in the movies nominated this year have been huge, and they really hope that that will transfer and cross over in terms of TV viewing figures.
Yeah.
And Zara, of course, we have all these Irish nominations and we're all so proud of everybody. What's the feeling out there at the moment about will we take home anything at all or will we come home empty-handed?
I'll be honest, Alan, I suppose we are kind of going into this as the underdog. That'll be frank about it. I mean, we do have 14 nominations. It's really exciting for Ireland. I hate to be the bringer of that news, but when you look at a lot of the major outlets that are publishing their predictions this week, you've got the likes of The Hollywood Reporter. A lot of them are not giving the awards to Ireland at the moment, but certainly there will be a feeling, I would say, among some experts here in Hollywood who would say that the Academy in terms of the voters has gone a little bit younger, and that some of the younger voters aren't as inclined to do what would have traditionally been done, which is, you know, give all of the awards to one particular movie. That actually there seems to be a bit more of a sentiment about spreading the wealth a little bit in terms of the awards, so you could certainly hope that perhaps Ireland would benefit from that. In some good news, the LA Times has at least thankfully ranked Colin Farrell is most likely to win Best Actor, so that was one that definitely came up. But at the moment, I would say we're going into it slightly as the underdog.
Zara, I know we've got about 20 seconds left, and I have you've kept a gift bag of mine for I think about a year now, so I assume you're hoping to pick up one of these Oscars goodie bags. We're at a thing still in our house. One of these Oscars goodie bags worth
That's in the hall in my house, by the way.
150 grand. Tell us, we've got a couple of seconds. Tell us what's in this goodie bag.
Oh, Maureen, this goodie bag is not like the one in the hall in my house. I mean, they have got everything from a 40 grand 3-day trip to Canada, skincare, Botox, you name it, they've got it. Now, this is compiled by Distinctive Assets, the group that put together the gift bag. Now, they're saying today that while the gift bag does always have an impressive value, that is neither the focus nor the goal. And then they go on to say that they use this as a marketing and advertising can, and it's really important for businesses to be able to get directly in touch with the celebrity. So they're saying this isn't frivolity. They're saying it is basic economics and that there's a business message behind this gift bag. But I mean, listen, $120,000 is pretty extortionate.
Pretty nice. That won't be in the hall of anyone's house for long, I can tell you.
Try to grab one from a drunk person,
Zara, have a great time at the Oscar Wilde and at the Oscars, and we'll chat to you on Monday.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks, Zara. We'll be back with you at Ireland AM shortly.
As Taoiseach of Ireland from 1997 until 2008, Bertie Ahern played a huge part in the country's history.
With the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement taking place this year, it's coming up very shortly, Bertie Ahern is once again back in the spotlight and he joins us now. Bertie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, Northern Ireland is talked about so much in the context of Brexit now and what is actually going on with the DUP kind of stopping everything. We haven't had a storm since elections last May. But the Good Friday Agreement, 25 years ago, like, we can't underestimate how huge that was.
Well, I suppose it was the big change. I always look at the Good Friday Agreement as two things. There was the peace end of it, would we stop 25 years of violence, and the fact there was 3,700 people killed in that quarter of a century, and, you know, 27,000 people badly injured and all the bombs and all of that. So that end was very successful. Then there was the political end, a bit more shaky. You know, it's up, it's down, it's one difficulty after another. So that end is, the reason it's still in the world news, I suppose, all the time is because of Brexit now, Rishi Sunak, you know, before that, Boris Johnson. So hopefully the next 25 years will be less exciting. It won't be so much in the news, but the peace process, from the point of view of peace and stability, and there are, as we saw in Nome a few weeks ago, but thankfully very few incidents. I always said there was more people, I think, killed in the drug battle in the city than there was in the north in the last 15 years, and people forget that.
Yeah.
You know, so it puts it into this context.
You know, you're obviously doing this podcast at the minute, as I remember it, Bertie Ahern and the Good Friday Agreement, and you talk to a lot of the people and the politicians who were involved in it, and many of them have passed on. But do you worry now with what you see, what's going on? And I saw that you're urging politicians not to fall into the political trap of playing with the Good Friday Agreement, and particularly when you see the Good Friday Agreement has to be Catholic and Protestant, and when you have the Alliance Party growing in the middle. You know, is it outdated? Do they need to change it, do you think?
I think there's always, you know, there's a review clause in it, like any good agreement. There's a review in it from time to time so people can review it. My point is that the issue they should deal with now is just get back to work. It's crazy that it's a year since the elections. Yeah. I was in Stormont on Monday, and you know, it's a lovely place and a fine building and nobody in it. You know, it's crazy. So they need to get back up, get moving and running. And you know, I think the difference. I spent 3 or 4 months on the podcast, and you're talking to all the people, and you go back to 25 years ago, and you're getting the mindset where we were then, and you know what was it really about. And at that stage, the big ingredient was to stop the trouble, stop the violence. Now I suppose that isn't there, so politicians now just start arguing the old political game. Though, you know, I think when people listen back and they realise just how complex it was, I suppose it still is complex. Yeah. But I just like to see that they, you know, everyone needs to get off the stage a bit and just get on with the job, you know.
Because it is fascinating, and we know that people are gone, like David Trimble, Seamus Mallon, John Hugh Momolan, huge figures in the Good Friday Agreement. But your whole thing was to make Northern Ireland politics boring. That's what you wanted to do. You wanted to make it boring, but we're in a world where it's not green and orange anymore. No. There is, thank God, this cross-border, cross-party alliance party that's coming through.
Yeah, and I think that'll grow. I think that, I mean, young people coming up, thankfully they don't remember the violence. Yeah. I do a lot of things in Northern Ireland, in schools and that, and you know, you're talking to 18, 19-year-olds. Actually, the Good Friday Agreement is on the curriculum for the Leaving Cert this year. So, you know, these young people...
But is the DUP, with it the way it is, they've got people over a barrel and they're just looking to, you know, Mother England, Westminster, it's tightening those ties with some really staunch unionists. Yeah, it is. And, you know, I think people... more and more people, but I think, are saying, listen, it's about a job, it's about investment, it's about our career. And they're not looking whether we're orange or green or anything in between. Now, thank God. I mean, the more I think people look at, listen, it's about having a house, it's about having a job, it's about getting an education. And the more they look at that, they get away from it. Where 25 years ago it was about, can we stop the troubles, can we stop the bombings, can we stop the mayhem? So I think, you know, people listen to podcasts will get a good feel of what it was 25 years ago. I think we now need to look, we never want to go back to that. Let's go forward, let's just get on with it. And I think if the fact that people are listening to this is a bit of an education, but hopefully people in Northern Ireland in particular, but people in the whole island will realise this. We never want to go back to these days. We never want to go back even 5% to those kind of
Absolutely, days. Absolutely. But you've gone back. You've gone back to Fianna Fáil again, or
yeah,
did you ever leave?
I don't think I ever left. I was surprised that people thought I went back. I thought I never left, actually.
Had you not?
Well, I was formally I had left, but I'm very much a Drumcondra boy, so the Drumcondra Fianna Fáil group are still all my friends, so I still met them every month. I was involved in all the 1916 commemorations with them. I still went around the country to, you know, launching campaigns and doing everything. So the only difference now is it cost me 20 quid.
There we go. You know, officially, that's what's happening.
But other than that, it's made no difference to me.
But when you did start paying the 20 quid, you know, it does bring you back into the limelight, and public opinion starts talking again as to what's Bertie up to.
Yeah.
You know, you're a political manoeuvre. You've been on the world stage, and people are going, what's he got in the back of his head?
Yeah.
Does he want to be president? Does he want to get back in, become a TD again?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not going back to Dáil Éireann anyway. I did me 34 years service in there, so I'm not doing that. I don't have any real plan. I've spent the last 15 years involved in conflict resolution things everywhere. I spent 3 years in Papua New Guinea. I spent 3 or 4 years in the Basque Country. I was involved in the earlier part of Ukraine and from the Maidan in 2014. I've been involved in the conflict in Turkey. Not that we got very far. So I've been involved in all of those things. So I've kept very, very active. I just was out of the scene here. I'm still out of the scene here. I mean, I couldn't believe that it took 3 months for the 2 months for the media to realise that I'd paid 20 quid to join. I joined way back before Christmas.
We're not keeping as close an eye on you now.
Thankfully.
I thought you'd be happy with that.
Thankfully.
Listen, we saw recently the protests at DCU whenever you had that honorary graduation. People talking how you were the architect of this financial crisis. Where does that sit with you when you hear young people and when we see what is going on with the financial and the housing crisis at the moment?
Listen, it was an international financial crisis. I kind of laughed to myself. I'm sorry we had any crisis here, of course. But, I mean, the fact that I was in anything to do with Lehman's or Wall Street or, the financial crash is a bit of a joke. But we did have the property thing. Well, the thing about the housing thing is, it's funny, the politicians are being berated now for we don't have enough of houses, and we don't. In my day, I was berated because we were building 70,000 a year. And in my view, to be honest, Tommy, the financial crash stopped it for a few years. We ran all the developers and builders out of town. It didn't stop it for a decade.
But we did hand it over, when the country was able to build, and we're talking when we had no money, back in Lamassian politics, when we were able to build up to 70,000 houses, and now we can't get 10, 15,000 houses built, and we're handing things over to corporate landlords, vulture funds. It's something that did happen, during your time, when it was, free market economics, and we're, oh, look at us, we've got all this money. Like, you have to sit there and go, what's happened when we've got homeless figures that we've the highest we've ever had? Yeah,
and I think, you saw what the Taoiseach said last night. We need probably about 50,000 houses a year. When back 15 years ago now, 2008, that was still the figure. It was 45,000 houses a year. My view is, but we went from building 70,000 houses to 7. I don't think that was necessary at the time. There was a few years where it was, because there was a crash, and there was a crash in most parts of the world. There was a crash right across the United States. Most countries jumped back up again, and we didn't, because there was this thing. I mean, every night you saw the ghost estates. It'll be 50 years before we'll be able to sell all these houses. It wasn't. No. I mean, I think that was a mistake by everybody. 3 or 4 years, and we should have been back building.
But have we handed too much over? Where the social contract feels like it's gone. It does feel like it's gone, that the government aren't there. $1 billion is being spent on housing, but it's been given to private property developers rather than going, right, we'll control this. We will help people get houses.
I think, listen, the trouble is the top 10 builders who were building the 70,000 houses, well, they weren't building them all, but they're building a lion's share of it. Most of them are off the stage. There's only 1 or 2 of them left. And I think that's a big part of the difficulty. We lost that entire industry. And I accept that between 2008 2012, there was a problem, but I think we should have been back far faster into the game. And now it's going to take a number of years to catch up. It's just going to, and of course our population has zoomed, and the more the population goes up, the more the demand goes up, and that's the difficulty.
Listen to interviews with you in the past, hardcore Fianna Fáil all the way through. Did you ever think you'd see the day, the coalition, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael?
I didn't really, but I mean, circumstances change, and I think we're into the era. One time I thought it would always be either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael and Labour in government to be one or the other. But then we joined up with the Progressive Democrats, then we joined up with Labour. I think we're now in a multi-party system, and it's going to keep going that way. Nobody will get an overall majority, so you're just going to keep on getting coalitions of God knows who.
But it's so. What is the future for Fianna Fáil? Because we've never been on the right and left in Ireland. It was traditionally always treaty politics, right? What's the future when Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are essentially the same?
Well, I still argue they're not exactly the same, but I think they're far closer together. And of course, when you get a program for government, both of them are working on it. But we're probably moving to a more a right or left position as other parties. But what's happening around Europe now is that's breaking down. A lot of them had right and left, and now they're breaking back down again. And you're getting back into either right-wing parties or left-wing parties. I think Ireland will always be a bit unique. I don't think we have a strong right and have a strong left. I don't think any of the parties are really strong right or strong left.
But do you see an amalgamation between the two and end of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil?
It could happen, but I'll be long gone.
I was about to say.
I'll be long gone, and I'll be unlikely to be voting for it.
There's all these things we thought we'd never see. We'd never thought we'd maybe see you as a president of Ireland. What about that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, anything is like, I've given it absolutely no thought. I mean, but it's interesting that the papers have, but I haven't.
Do you think you'll see Mary Louise Taoiseach?
That's if she holds up, if you're the leading party into an election, at one stage we were 34-35%, and if you were on 35% and you're the lead party, then there's a strong possibility. I know Mary Lou well, she's a good person.
A former Fianna Fáiler?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet, but I think, no party is really that far ahead. I mean, Sinn Féin are definitely in the last 3 years, they're 2 years anyway, they're heading up being, but I'm not sure what the makeup will be. I wouldn't be putting any money one way or the other at this stage. It's 2 years out from an election and quite a lot will happen. But, Sinn Féin are obviously in a very good position.
Listen, we are 25, coming up to the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. It's going to be a special time. Any events planned, anything?
Yeah, there's some very good events. Queen's University has taken the lead again on this, and Bill Clinton and Hillary are coming over.
Wow.
Tony Blair is coming, John Major maybe. There's even some talk about the King might end up in Hillsborough, depending on how things are.
Really?
So there's a lot of talk, but certainly George Mitchell isn't too well. But I've obviously spoke to him for an hour on the podcast, so he's in good form.
He's in his 90s.
He's in his 90s, and he'd really like to come. And I suppose he'll have to take his advice from his docs, what they say.
He's getting the band back together.
But if people listen to him on newstalk.com, George Mitchell gives a really good
Look at that plug you got in there.
Listen,
well done.
The podcast, it is, of course, as I remember it, Bertie Ahern and the Good Friday Agreement. And I think the short form is 9 hours.
It's 9 hours over nine programmes, and it covers all the people who were part of the Good Friday Agreement, all the ones that were alive. And in John Hume's son, John Hume Jr., I think gives a very good account of his dad's life and his part in the whole peace process.
And Bill Clinton is on the next one.
Bill Clinton is on the one that's out today.
Wow.
So, and he goes, hey, Bertie. Hey, Bertie. Hey, Bertie. Bertie Ahern, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Lovely to talk to you.
Now we're in the kitchen with Scott Holder, who's showing us the tastiest way to start the day.
Now, that's right, isn't it? Well, breakfast tacos.
Tacos.
I'm looking at the sausage, the fried, the eggs, and going, but tacos, well, let's do it.
Every morning,
let's do it.
We get dinners, we get oysters, we get chilies.
Desserts.
Finally, we're
getting a breakfast.
Finally, we're doing breakfast for the breakfast show. So, we're going to start off, nice glug of olive oil, and we'll fry off some bacon and some goubine chorizo from Cork.
Beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
Nice Irish chorizo.
Hard to beat.
Is that actual bacon? It is bacon, yeah.
Streaky bacon.
Streaky bacon.
Yeah, streaky.
Okay.
Not that other stuff. Always streaky.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Because the more flavour, it's crispy.
It gets really nice, crispy. It's got that fat in it that goes into the pan, and for me it's always streaky.
Right. Would you have streaky bacon? I'd have the nicer big.
Nah, it's like a big piece of ham.
It's not as healthy, the streaky, obviously, but if you're going to treat yourself.
Yeah, but I think, come on, if you're exercising, you're fit, you can treat yourself every now and again.
Injure yourself.
So we will also add the chorizo into that pan. Why not? Get it going.
Lovely.
Come here, the chorizo,
Come here.
Can you eat the chorizo like that, or do you have to cook it? You can eat it like that, can you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of more a raw chorizo, so it does... There's two types of chorizo. There's one that's been taken further, and you can slice it and eat it like a salami.
Okay.
This
one
will
need to be cooked.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, will it be ready on time?
It will, yeah. They cooked very fast.
You say that every week.
Exactly. If you tell you a minute left.
So we're going to make some avocado, kind of smashed avocado. So we're going to add in some lime juice.
Right.
And then we're going to add in some water just to let it down.
Okay.
And then good pinch of salt. Okay. So avocado is really fatty, so it can take nice bit of seasoning, nice bit of acidity from the lime.
Okay, yeah.
And also a good bit of salt. And we're just going to mash that up with a whisk. Make sure
smell
it's
that bacon.
A strong whisk.
It can smell the bacon. Oh.
I went and bought one of those lime squeezers.
Yeah.
After your last one.
I've seen that.
And he hasn't used it yet.
No, I have.
No, he did.
Sure, the way you say a little squeeze of lemon
and it comes out.
It's like a cupful. The whole thing Lucy was saying, geez, there's an awful taste of lemon off that. But it's very effective, Scott.
I see you did very well with the jackfruit tacos.
I did. Yeah, I was delighted with those. Really nice.
Oh, did you make? You did make them.
The tacos the last day, yeah.
So we're just going to mash this up, and it's just a really quick way to make like a guacamole or like an avocado kind of sauce. Okay. And then we can just check that for seasoning. How are we doing on time? We're good.
I love guacamole.
Add another little pinch of salt in there.
Right.
So the egg.
Do you want me to do that for you? Let me
you can do it. Yeah, mash it up. That'd be great.
Well, that's done.
That's done.
No,
don't have to do anything else.
Okay. Put me to work here.
Put you to work.
So...
Oh, the smell of that bacon is amazing.
We can see that chorizo is nice and cooked there, so we can take that out. That's also giving us a nice bit of chorizo oil in there for the bacon.
Okay, lovely.
So the chorizo would come out before the bacon, so that's nicely cooked now.
And you wouldn't do your eggs on that pan, though, because would they be too...
No, I mean, you could afterwards, definitely. You could, like a fried egg in there would be really nice. It would get all that chorizo.
I was going to say that lovely
colour.
taste, lovely flavour on it.
Be beautiful, yeah.
But you're not doing that.
We're not going to do that today. We're going to take our eggs and we're just going to beat them here with a fork.
So we're doing scrambled eggs.
Scrambled egg, yeah. I'm more.
You could have got Alan to do that.
I'm more.
I'm
more scrambled than fried. I don't trust him.
You're right.
What do you mean you don't trust me?
We go
more salt.
Good pinch of salt in there.
God almighty.
And then we go nice bit of
I always put black pepper in scrambled eggs.
Absolutely. And then we're going to go and put some Wicklow Gold cheddar into that.
Oh, right, some good mature cheddar.
Yeah, so it'll just make it really nice, pillowy, kind of soft.
I absolutely love cheesy scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just for a treat. Yeah.
Come on, Scott, get the eggs in.
They're coming. How are we doing on time here?
We've loads of time.
I'm not going to say how long
we're hungry.
I'm just worried about it. I want the egg.
Hungry.
I know, but you're always... Where's my little spatula? Okay, so we'll put them into a pan with some olive oil here.
Look at this.
See, now, I just want to see how you're going to do these eggs, because I can never get a properly nice scrambled egg.
What do you mean?
It's always... I always get it done too much. Do you know when you get it in a lovely restaurant and it's still a bit gooey?
Well, just don't cook it as much.
I know, but then you're afraid as a cook.
No, come on, don't give in. Don't give in to the fear of it. So you can see now it's starting to cook on the bottom there. So use a spatula and a nice non-stick pan and just move it around like that.
Yeah. Where are the tacos?
The tacos? They're coming.
Oh, no, I was just wondering, do we have to make them or bake them?
No, I have them ready to go.
Okay.
So see the way you just move that around there? And basically what
Do you want me to do that for you, and then you can start getting the tacos?
Look at Tommy getting you start putting the tortillas out here.
Okay, right. Come on, let's help out here.
And
now,
so
are those eggs done now?
These eggs are done at that point, right? Where you're saying you're taking them too far, just take them off the heat.
Oh, and let them just cook themselves.
Exactly, take them off, control your heat.
There we go.
Okay, so eggs are done.
Right.
Oh, you see that? Yeah, when it comes off,
Now,
it's
where's my
like another minute
avocado?
on it.
For this.
Oh, so I have to mention next week.
Oh, yes, you're doing
Me Old Flour.
What's Me Old Flour?
Me Old
now?
Flour is a new food and drinks market.
Wait till you hear this. Do you know the fruit and veg market in town off Capel Street? The big, huge one.
Yeah.
It's been lying derelict there for years, and I'm always saying there should be a big event there.
We always say
There's going to be a massive event there next week.
So we've got about 15 different restaurant chefs from all around Ireland. Lost Chicanos is going to be at it.
Brilliant.
And
that's great.
It's going to be next Thursday,
Friday, Saturday, and
Saturday, Sunday.
I'm definitely going to go to that on Paddy's Day. I'm going to go up on Paddy's Day.
Tickets are on.
Let's go, Will.
meoldflour.com.
meoldflour.com, because that fruit market, people would know it if they from around town. It used to be the big fruit and veg market.
Brilliant. Great to hear. It's good to hear places like that are actually being put to use again.
Well, that place is a sin that Dublin City Council or Corporation haven't done anything with it.
Calling them out here.
No,
That's it.
seriously.
Now.
So I'll be at that Meold Flour Market.
Meoldflour.com.
I'll have the treat, so it won't be too hot for you, I'd say.
Okay, so here we have our breakfast tacos, and we're going to finish that off with a bit of Cholula hot sauce.
I know.
A little bit of extra hot sauce.
I think we'll be fine without the Cholula. No, go away, we don't want
put
Cholula.
a drop on one of them.
Cholula, Meold Flour.
Oh, no, go away.
Okay,
go
right,
away.
here we go.
Delish. Thank you so much for that, Scott. That's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, Cholula.
Cholula.
It's good. Adds a little
And
fiery
good luck
kick
with
to
that.
it.
I'll definitely be up to see you next weekend.
We'll see you next week.
It's time for a quick break now, but come back to us as we hear from the people who gave Oscar nominee Barry Keoghan his start in the world of acting. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. The lads are still having their breakfast. It smells so good. More breakfast on The Breakfast Show, I think. Now it's time to head to Dublin's inner city, where Deric is with the people who first spotted Oscar hopeful Barry Keoghan's talent a while ago. Hey, Deric, how you doing?
Yes, thank you very much. There's great excitement here at Belvedere Youth Club. Of course, the former stomping ground of Oscar nominee Barry Keoghan. Great excitement, as we mentioned. Gillian is with us now. Gillian Collins, Operations Manager, and of course, Casting Director Maureen Hughes. Gillian, we'll talk to you first. Tell us about the club itself.
So Belvedere Youth Club, we're the oldest youth club in the history of the state, celebrating 105 years this year. Originally established in 1918, so it's a fantastic history. Many generations of families have come through. Barry's being one, my own being another. So yeah.
And you were here yourself?
I'll be 25 years an employee here. Okay. Next week.
You're 20% state funded as well.
We only get funded for 20% of the work that we do, so it's very, very challenging. We're always running different fundraising events. We have a golf classic coming up in May. We have an annual cycle. We're always out, myself and Jenny, our general manager, is always out banging on people's doors looking for money to keep the lights on, keep the heating on, keep the staff
and keep the place up and running. Now, Barry Keoghan, a big day, for a big weekend for the club, really, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Barry would have joined the club here when he was about 15. And he
was kind of a late bloomer, was he?
He was late when he started, yeah, and then he was here every day. He practically lived here, and he auditioned for one of. We had a thriving arts and drama section at the time, so he came and he auditioned for it, and he got the part of Link Larkin in our production of Hairspray the Musical in 2010.
Okay.
And as part of that production, Barry would have come with us to London to the West End to see the West End production of Hairspray the Musical. And then we came back, and he always had a dream that he wanted to be a Hollywood superstar, and he just followed his dream.
And he only lives a stone's throw away
just
from here.
Just up the road there, just off Portland Road, he lives, Summer Hill. Yeah, so it's great, it's fantastic. There's a great buzz in the area. It's positivity for everybody. He's a fantastic role model.
And what was he like to work with?
Yeah, he was a normal teenager.
Yeah.
Hit with the girls.
No. Surprise.
One of his cast members texted me last night. I had to tell Deric today that Barry was a brutal kisser.
Oh, a brutal kisser! You heard it here first.
And yeah, we found old footage of him dancing there yesterday, and he had the two left feet as well. But he just put his head into the role and just got on with it, and the rest is history, should
The
we
rest
say.
is history, as they say. Maureen Hughes, casting director. You're around a long time, Maureen.
A very long time. I'm 129,000 years of age.
Maureen, you've worked with many film directors and many actors over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, I probably started off. My first film was The Butcher Boy with Neil Jordan back in '96, and then I ended up. My second film was actually as an assistant to Jim Sheridan down here in these very streets for The Boxer, which we shot in '96, '97, I think. So I know this area very well.
Now let's talk about Barry Keoghan, because Barry, he was 12 and he came up the stairs and knocked on your door.
He wasn't 12, but he looked 12.
Oh,
he came up the stairs, we were working. I mean, it's interesting that Gillian said he fell in love with this place, and I think when he finished with this place, he found us, which was a similar place over in Barrow Street called The Factory, which was run by Kirsten Sheridan, John Carney and Lance Daly, and they'd asked me to come in and kind of engage with the acting community. So this young fella came upstairs and says, Maureen Hughes here, Peter Coonan says I was to find her. And so Peter Coonan, in a way, sent him to me. And so I wasn't the first person to cast him on film. He had done several pieces of work with Mark O'Connor, very good filmmaker here in Dublin. But he wanted to break in. I was casting Love Hate at the time, which was the talk of the country.
And that was really his breakthrough moment, wasn't it?
Well, it was his breakthrough moment in terms of the general population seeing him.
Yes.
Mark's films were just literally coming out, and they would only have been seen in cinemas, probably in Dublin at that point. So for Barry, he saw RTE as the way forward. It was like, how do I get in front of the entire country really fast?
And apparently he presented you with a list of directors he wanted to work with.
He had a bucket list of directors he wanted to work with, and I remember looking at it and going, well, God bless him. I am telling you, he's about 2/3 of the way through the list, and he's not. Is he 30 yet? It's incredible.
It
it's
is
really
incredible. Huge success as well for the Irish this weekend. You know, I think the Irish have gone out with confidence to the Oscars this year, haven't they?
Huge confidence. You know, Martin McDonagh's been at the Oscars before. He's old hat at it. He won his first Oscar for his short film in 2004 with Brendan Gleeson and David Wilmot and Rory Conroy, another actor who's not from too far away from here, East Wall. And then he was there with 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now he's there with Colin, Brendan, Kate, you know.
Absolutely.
Kerry
And Colin Cune Oscuelga as well.
Colin Cune Oscuelga is the biggest. It's kind of the biggest plus of all.
Absolutely.
An Irish language film at the Oscars.
Great
Who
platform.
would ever have thought?
Great platform, not only for the language, but for the island of Ireland as well.
Yeah, and a low-budget
Ireland.
film, and no big stars in it. Like Martin's film has Brendan and Colin, big stars. Barry, who's fast becoming a big star. Kerry Condon, who's very well known. And Colin Cune has very good actors in it.
All right. Are we rooting for Barry for the Oscar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, are we rooting for Barry for an Oscar?
Yeah.
There we have it. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Back
flats.
to you guys in studio. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're all rooting for Barry. Yes, we
I
certainly
loved his
are.
talk show set up there.
Parky over here.
Parkinson, is that what we're calling him? Michael
And do
Parkinson,
you know
our Deric.
Maureen Hughes there, a casting director for many years, I know her, and like she's cast so many people in Irish films over the years.
Your cousin, Maureen Hughes.
Obviously
no
has
relation.
a serious eye for talent,
Yeah.
though, isn't it
Yeah.
amazing?
Yeah.
And just to see the youth clubs, the work that goes on in there as well, it's just fantastic.
Brilliant.
Really
Come on,
is.
the Irish on
Come on,
Sunday.
the Irish,
Did
you're
Maureen
right.
never come for Sammy Sausages?
No.
No, okay, do you know?
Oh, she may have cast me in some ads or something like that.
We'll be
over
back
the
with
years.
you at
Don't
Ireland
know.
AM in a minute.
We'll see in a few minutes.
She may have cast you in a few
She may have cast me in ads, I'm sure.
You're very welcome back.
Yeah, it's been busy show. We're going all the way back to 7:15. We were talking about the eviction ban in relation to the fact that it is going to lapse on the 31st. And the Taoiseach of Bertie has said that there's been a false narrative created that this is tenants versus landlords, that we're supporting the landlords. We've got some of your messages on it.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I would just whenever Leo Varadkar said this is in the general public's interest, it was really interesting to hear that. And when you know how many people who are struggling to get on the house.
I was listening to a radio interview yesterday, a man, and he's a really good job, and he's 2 children with his wife, and they're renting, and the landlord is selling, and he's been trying for the last 4 weeks to try and find accommodation, and he doesn't know what to go. He went to his local health office, and they said, there's nothing we can do, his local social welfare office, and they said, there's nothing we can do. Come back to us in April.
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? That's like Ken.
Go?
That's like Ken
Yeah.
here. Following the government's decision on the eviction ban, I will now be made homeless. I have 2 children. I don't know what to do. It's a hopeless situation. I hope the vote in the Dáil can happen to overturn this. It's not a vote in the Dáil. It's a cabinet decision. It's been signed off by the cabinet. So there is no vote on this. It's a done deal.
Unless Sinn Féin or unless enough TDs
Dave,
go
sorry, Sinn Féin
against
are
it.
tabling a motion.
Confidence vote or something
they're
like that.
tabling
And
an
even
motion.
Mike from Focus Ireland was just saying, like, are they seeing the people that are coming to us and knocking on the door, say, we have no more space for you, you're going to have to go out and sleep in your car there. Like, it's frightening. Anne has just said...
This man has a good job, Tommy. He's a really good job. You just can't afford somewhere. And this is in Dundalk.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Dublin, it's Dundalk. He said, I just can't find anywhere.
Well, listen, you can see why people are saying this. Anne is saying that young people are emigrating. They just want young, educated people are emigrating in their droves. I know, as I have 2 sons living and working abroad. They both said they'll never envisage coming back and owning a house in Ireland. And that's it. Like, for parents now who maybe have their own houses, how heartbreaking is it having to take their kids to the airport and wave goodbye to them going to Australia or Canada or America, knowing that there is a chance they might not be able to come back?
That you see your child homeless or living in a car, and maybe you can't take them in. But I mean, you could.
But it's not like it's the 80s. We've got nothing but good jobs. We've got nothing but jobs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're heading off.
Like, we're the envy of Europe for the way our economy works.
Well, I don't know.
Well, but then there's people are getting so well educated, Muireann, as well, doctors, and they're all emigrating and going to the Middle East and Australia because they're getting paid and they're getting treated better.
They can afford a house.
And that's why you're seeing less, I think it's 10% down on the amount of people who are wanting to get into medicine now as well.
It just, listen, I don't know who's, it just, as Mike said earlier on for Focus Ireland, he said, it just feels hopeless. Everyone feels like they've lost hope and it's really depressing. Do you know what? Let's change it up.
Let us know what you think. We'd like to hear from you.
It's going to keep on rolling. We know that it is. It's time for a very quick break. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM very shortly.
Now our next guest is a member of one of the UK's most successful boy bands. I hate that word, boy band. Man band.
He's made a statement. Let's get it in the news. Alan Hughes hates boy bands.
I don't hate them. I hate the word.
Hate the word. Joining us now to talk about the JLS reunion, his upcoming solo tour and family life. It's Aston Merrygold. Aston, do you hate the term boy band?
I don't, no.
He doesn't. You'll discuss this as we take a look at one of Aston's, his latest single. This is How Many Times.
There he is. We were just talking about welcome.
Welcome.
Morning.
Welcome, Aston. We were actually talking about X Factor because that's where it started for JLS. And I was over because Louis was your mentor, and I remember that year, and he was so excited for you.
So, Aston, it's not about you, it's about Alan. Is that okay?
No, I'm just saying. He literally was so excited, and he kept saying, I have something good here. And he really did. Yeah, and he knew he had something good in you. And you were brilliant on it.
Thank you. No, that was a lot of fun. That's, as you said, that's the conception, I suppose, of JLS. We were rehearsing for so long for something like that to come along. And we were just like, do you know what? Everybody, same idea, same date. Let's just do it. Yeah. Let's go for it. When we actually got the call to be like live shows and whatever, and we had Louis, it was, dream come true.
Yeah. Because you just said there, the concept, the idea of a boy band, it has evolved so much because we get to the thing of you stay together for a while, you break up, you go apart, but it's not this big, massive breakup and it's always coming back. Like, take that, really set that norm. People like Duran Duran set that norm.
Definitely. I think, as you said, because the boy band hysteria at first, and it is kind of aimed, everyone's kind of, it's at the young teen girls and all that kind of stuff. And then it is that evolution of where can you kind of progress to, how do you see yourself growing up, and this person's now got a family, so it's all very, it's all very different in kind of that growing up period.
But look, Westlife have done it. Look at what Westlife are doing. They're in Asia at the moment. They played 3 nights in the Aviva.
Oh, yeah.
70,000 a night. So, it just... Smashing it. People love that nostalgia, and then you have Bewitched getting back together.
Yes.
You have S-Club. When it's not only S Club 2 or 3, it's all of them.
It's all thing. It's amazing. But can we talk about that hysteria for a minute?
Yes.
Let's talk about the person in your suitcase.
Wasn't my suitcase.
I'm so sorry, it wasn't yours. But there was a person in your suitcase.
Yeah, actually in Dublin as well. This is.
Of course, well done, Ireland.
Well, no, this is a story that stays with us forever. I think it was around that time of the hysteria, and we're over here doing a show. We've just done so many shows, and it's a bit like, right, we're jumping off the bus, we're here, and there was, at the time, lots of people kind of around the bus and waiting for us, so obviously we come off, take pictures and all sorts, and as the team was unloading the bags, they obviously know our bags and our stuff, and they were like, who's this? That's not one of the boys. Is this yours? No, it's not yours. And then it kind of, the movement of the bag kind of shook up one of our...
There was a fan in the bag, in the suitcase?
Yeah. And I don't know where they obviously were planning to go to.
Was it a girl or a guy?
we were rushed into the hotel. So I was just... As
An
far
emergency.
as far as I know, it was a young girl, and I think she's fine if you're out there. I think you're OK.
So she had been like, I'll lash myself into this bag, put myself in the bus.
No, but
Someone put her on a bus.
My thing is who put her there. My thing is kind of going, who wheeled her along in this case and put her with our stuff? That's the bit I'm a bit like, where's that friend?
Can you
Or
imagine
that
she'd
person?
gotten to the room and she just got out and it wasn't one of you, it was a roadie. She was like, lad.
Yeah, imagine, yeah.
All this effort for nothing.
Or just storage. If she
Or
was in
just
storage, you kind of go,
Oh, yeah.
that's a plan.
We
No.
don't need that bag till next week.
Exactly. That wouldn't have been...
They're the
no.
great stories, though. Like it.
Oh, it's a
and
brilliant...
the
My kids will never
insanity.
believe that. I love that. When I tell my kids that in years to come, they'll be like, oh, Dad,
No.
no, whatever.
Because you're a naff dad. That's what you're going to end up, no matter what, how cool you are.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, do you think you're going to be a cool dad?
Every dad thinks they're going to be a cool dad. Right, I'm going to try to be.
But you are bringing, because you have a dance studio.
Yes.
In London.
Yes, Base Studios, yeah.
Which is huge, Aston.
Yeah, it's fastly growing, which is amazing thing about social media and stuff like that. We've got some of the most amazing talents ever to, I suppose, be on this earth. Janet Jackson, whoever used our studios and just be like, kind of almost call it home. And then we've got over 120 odd teachers now that kind of have unbelievably full classes, and it's a massively vibey place. It's amazing.
It's the biggest outside America.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
just flying. Thank you. It's down to them. I'm just kind of, you know, I was there, conception, me and my business partner and best friend, we were just like, right, yeah, this is the idea, let's just put it into plan. Now the team are just taking it to new heights, so it's amazing.
Because it is, when you're front and centre, and we're all sitting here and we're like Aston from JLS, it's important that you have fingers in so many other pies, because you've got a family, you've got so many other things going on.
Yes.
So there's a lot behind the facade that we see.
Yeah, trying to still be 21.
Looking pretty good. You're looking pretty good.
Looking good at it.
And going out there doing solo work, because you are on tour, you're going to be in Ireland. In April, you are doing a solo tour.
Yes.
How? Because you've been doing that for a while. You know, you haven't had the lads all the time. How do you find it?
It's fun in the sense of I get to fully be free, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm still free in JLS, which is great. But, you know, especially when I've done Irish shows over before, it's...
Giving it the moves.
Trying to. I'm still trying. Again, credit to my team, because they push me. So when you are with some of the most amazing dancers in the industry, DJs, all that kind of thing on the stage, I have to up my level tenfold and make sure that it still kind of revolves around, you know, my artistry on stage.
And does the wife, Zara, help you with it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because, like, she's dancer, choreographer,
She is. She cracks the whip. For sure. She's just like, no, again, let's go again. That wasn't good. So she's brutally honest with me, which I need. So not everything can be great, but she's like, right, we'll go again. This can be better. We can do this. You can do so.
Because when you came out, like, it's the full package. You're a dancer, you know, dancer and a singer. And you kind of look at, like, I remember when poor Dua Lipa at one stage, like, she was out there and everyone was like, you know, she went viral for not being able to dance. And she went off and she worked on it.
Oh, God, yes, she's great now.
It's great now. The whole package is expected an awful lot of the time, especially when you're doing pop music.
I think so, but I think, as you said earlier, everything kind of changes within the time. So I think it's to have someone that does do the full entertainment package, let's say, on stage, that wants to kind of bring the charisma with the music and the singing and the dancing, that's not as expected anymore, or some bits may kind of elevate more than others. Like, you've got a Lewis Capaldi whose personality is so infectious and it's brilliant, the voice is incredible.
Yeah.
But then I've never seen him dance. And if he did dance, he'd probably throw it into the more charisma side of it and just make it...
I think it'd be good.
A thing, do you know what I mean? So, you know, that's something that can...
But yeah, the JLS, so the JLS tour, and like the merchandise is always a huge part of a show when you're touring. JLS condoms?
Well, I can't say anything about that now. I've got 2 kids, so...
They work 90% of the time, all the time. 2 children.
So they won't be on this tour then. That was a merchandise previously.
No, to be fair, they were. That was a
Wait
merchandise
till he tells
thing.
his kids about that.
I know. I can't actually, can I? That was actually... My mum used to be a social worker, so she was always like, guys, you're in such a great position to get rid of this kind of taboo stigma thing of talking about sexual health and all this kind of stuff. So she was like, if there's any... She used to work with young mums and obviously very big fans of ours and stuff like that. And it was just kind of this case of no one is outspoken about that stuff and being like, it's OK, you just need to be educated. So we kind of try to do it in the most sensitive way possible.
Selling condoms, basically.
But for charity, so we didn't actually make... Yeah, exactly. So we didn't make anything off it.
For charity.
But it was all for charity, and it was all in a place coming from, you know, trying to gather as much knowledge and just trying to get rid of that stigma of it can be talked about.
They'd be lashing them out at the tour.
They weren't,
you're back together. But, like, you are back together, you're going touring. Was that a nice conversation?
Lashing them out. I think JLS got...
As long as that's what they're lashing out.
The tree arena will be packed.
You're all married men at this stage. That's all.
Exactly.
Getting back together, was it easy? Lads, come on, let's go on a tour.
Basically, yeah.
That was it.
Like, no, but this is where there's no kind of big... You know, everyone kind of thinks this story of, this has to happen. It was as easy as kind of having a glass of wine.
Let's do
one
it.
of the guys' houses, because, you know, we do get together on, you know, very often occasion, and should we do another one? Yeah, like, the fans call for it. Let's just do it. And it is as easy as that. It's fun, and we find it fun. So we don't have to make this massive drama about anything and, you know, make massive press stories. It's fun.
It is going to be brilliant. But your solo tour, your April 28th, 29th and 30th, you're in the Cypress Avenue in Cork, Dublin's Opium, and then the Limelight in Belfast.
Yes.
And then JLS come back to the 3 Arena in Belfast in October 20th and 21st.
Indeed.
It's going to be great. You have a busy year ahead.
I do. I know.
Yeah. Get the condoms into production now. Aston Merrygold, it's been a pleasure chatting to you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Going, how did my interview turn into this?
See the way he said they get together and have a glass of wine in someone's house?
Yeah.
They work together and invite people to their houses. There you go.
For God's sake.
Never had an invite. Never been invited over.
You're coming
sure,
soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Aston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, still to come, we're hearing from best-selling crime fiction author Jane Casey.
Plus, we're learning how to forage for some perfect herbal tea ingredients, keeping it clean. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you on Ireland Day, I'm shortly.
Welcome back. Now, I've just found out that stinging nettle in tea can actually help your hay fever and help your hair grow. So,
I'll be on it. So, here to talk through the benefits of some homemade herbal teas is foraging expert Feebee Fallon. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you? Now, we've some lovely teas here. Everybody knows I love me tea, but I'm not a mad herbal tea person, but hopefully now you'll change me this morning.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a difference than when you buy tea bags that are herbal teas than when you actually use fresh herb, because you're actually getting the benefits of all of these fantastic plants. You're actually harnessing all of their oils, and they don't lose their medicinal goodness when you're using them from fresh leaf. So I've brought some little ones for you to try today.
So foraging, that's kind of your thing. So for this, people, like, you can go out and get herbal teas in the supermarket, the shop, easy, but it's actually better, you think, to go out and try and, you know, squeeze your own lemons, pick your own nettles.
But you have to squeeze your own lemons, dear. Like, how else would you get it? Like, when you buy a lemon and squeeze it.
Sorry, pick your own nettles or grow your own rosemary.
I always find
and squeeze your own lemon. It's very important.
Listen, you get lemon tea, but it just comes in a tea bag, doesn't it? Feebee, don't listen to him.
You are getting the absolute best. Fresh is always best.
Fresh is always best.
And always, also, you're going to get the best flavour from it as well, because it hasn't been dried, so it's not losing its goodness. So Nettles. Now, look, nettles to me are like a lifesaver. I am a hay fever person. I'm a sinus person, like most people in Ireland. And we're coming into that time of the year when people are going to start cutting the grass, and we're all going to get runny noses and the itchy eyes and stuff like that. This is where nettles really come into their own. And so I go out and I pick nettles along the Dodder. I'm from Fairhouse, so I'm generally around my local area picking the local nettles.
What do you do with gloves and stuff?
Well, I don't.
You can actually pick it by the stalk if you
be careful. You can pick nettles without gloves. The thing is, they do have little hypothermic needles running along the stems, and they are full of formic acid, and that's what gives you the sting. But the way the little pins are like this. So if you pick upwards, you're going to sting yourself. If you pick them a certain way, you won't sting yourself.
Right. Show us how you would make a tea.
So I'm going to blend this one here with rosemary and some mint. So to make a herbal tea from fresh herb, it's so easy. You're basically just going to cut it up, and you're just to release as much of the goodness as you can, because if you put the full leaf in, it's going to take a while for it to penetrate the leaf.
Are you not getting stung with that nettle there?
No.
The way? Okay, right. No worries.
I think I'm kind of used to it now at this stage. I'm going to put in a little bit of fresh mint as well. Most people will have mint growing in their garden. It grows like wildfire, and it's a fantastic one to have for your little mojitos on the
mint. Where you
mint, your fresh mint from your garden. So you
But if you don't have mint in your garden?
You can buy
Go
mint.
buy some.
Oh, no, but
You
I'm
can buy
saying,
mint,
like,
yeah.
no, like, I don't have mint in my garden, have you?
I think
I think now is the time to start. Like, we're springtime now. If you throw down a few seeds, mint, you will put in a few seeds and they will literally take over.
But I take it now, if you've taken nettles from a field or somewhere, wash them.
Yes, wash them. And I would always say to be kind of stick off the beaten track where you're not going to have lots of passing traffic, where there's not going to be... Yes,
dogs
exactly.
peeing
A
on them and stuff.
little bit of height. Now, nettles are... You'll see lots of lovely young leaves now growing at the moment. They're lovely and green. And they're the ones you want to get, the nice fresh ones.
OK, so just put it in there,
So
throw in some hot water.
you pop it in and then you're just going to fill it up with hot water and you're going to leave it for about 10 minutes. Now, the trick is, once you cover your leaves, you're going to stick a lid onto it because that's going to seal in. All of those oils are going to stay within that teapot there and not escape. You want to keep them all within there. And that will infuse now for about 10 minutes. So I have one. I prepared earlier.
Let's try some.
Would you like to try some?
Nettle.
Help the hair growth.
Well, you'll see that, like, this is now gone lovely colour. That's from all the chlorophyll that's in the nettle. And as you said there, with nettle tea, if you are someone who is experiencing like thinning hair or that your hair is starting to fall out, you can actually use that. Once it goes cool, you can actually use that as a rinse over your hair in the shower, and that will help stimulate your scalp to help your hair grow.
Lovely.
Okay.
It's quite nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's good.
it's fine.
You can definitely taste the mint in it.
You can definitely taste the mint.
OK, what's the next one? Is it honey?
This one here. So I've made this one here. This is one of my favourites. This is a daisy tea with honey and lemon. Now, I always work with local honey because, as I said, I'm an allergy person. So it's really, really important that if you are someone who suffers with hay fever or allergies, if you work with your local honey and use local honey, the bees that we're dealing with have been actually feeding off the pollen in your local area. It's the same antigens. So, and although it sounds counterproductive, it actually helps you build a stronger immune system. So you're as an anti-inflammatory. So I have made this one here. So in this I have... And
are these the daisies you'd pick in a field?
These
like daisies
are
when
little
you see
daisies that grow in your garden that people run over with the lawnmower and break my heart. Now, daisies, most people will think like that. They're just a little flower in the garden. They're actually so potent with medicine. So they're known as the poor man's arnica. If you've ever used arnica before,
we'll have a little
for healing,
for pain and stuff.
For healing, yes.
Oh yeah, to scars and stuff.
Exactly. So these are fantastic. You can use it for...
look at the daisies down floats the top.
Yeah, and they're pretty. I think it's a bit Instagrammable.
Stuck in the teeth.
So you basically just throw the daisies in there.
Daisies in there. I have some honey in there, and I use Ollie's Farm honey. He's in Glenasmole, so I know that this honey is from my local area. You can.
Can you take? Can you drink the daisies?
You can drink the daisies as well. They're edible.
But that's just it's honey and lemon really is the big one, but obviously
daisies, you're actually harnessing the medicine from the daisies. And also daisies do have a lemony flavour.
That's nice. That's lovely. Go out quickly, let's move on to the final one.
This is my nighty-nighty, sleepy, dreamy, snoozy snooze.
Need that on this show. OK.
And this one here is made with lemon balm. Like that again, it's from the mint family, will grow like wildfire in your garden. If you plant some, stick it in a pot. This is a gentle sedative of a tea. So you can have this at night time. I've matched it up with some gorgeous lavender, also a lovely calming one, and some ginger as well. So if this is a great one to have at night time, if you're going to bed, you've had a busy day, especially if you've had a late dinner, if you've been out somewhere and you might feel a bit bloated or whatever going to bed.
I just got a leaf in my mouth. Can you take the daisies out? Obviously,
but you can't eat them.
You can't eat them, but you can use a little sieve if you're that way, if you don't want to eat them.
Oh, that's lovely.
Do you like that
Love
one?
a nighttime tea, of
So
course.
that's a lemon balm. Helps everything to come down. Helps you wind down.
It actually does feel like it's more relaxing than the others. The others
it's
are more...
a hug and a mug.
Yeah, hug and a mug.
Phoebe, love it. And if people want to find out more, of course, they just go on to forager.ie and follow you on Instagram as well.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's lovely,
isn't it?
Cheers.
Coming up after the break, we're going to be meeting the best-selling author, crime author, Jane Casey. She's going to be here for a chat. That is lovely. Delving into the world of crime fiction now with a woman who is a renowned expert at this stage.
Here to discuss her latest novel in the hugely successful Maeve Kerrigan series. It is author Jane Casey. Jane, it is so lovely to have you here. Thank you so much. What number is this in the Maeve Kerrigan series?
That is book number 10.
10?
Yes.
People are obsessed with her.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, there's a lovely group of fans who take the day off on publication day and they stay home from work and they just read it for the whole day. And it gets to about like 9 o'clock at night and I start getting messages from them going, love the book, when's the next one coming out?
Yeah.
Like straight away, they just
day
want...
one.
It must be some pressure when you get to the 10th book that you're kind of like, how do you keep the story evolving, keep the creative juices going?
I think they're always very different. Like each book in the series is different and a different kind of challenge. So it's just great fun. Like I love going back to the characters.
But there's a pressure. Do you find the pressure tough when you get all those messages?
I mean, no, I love that people are keen, you know? It's such an honour. So many authors would kill for that. So, yeah, no, it's just a great privilege to have it.
So Maeve is kind of an outsider. She is an Irish guard working in the Met.
She was actually born in England.
Born in England, sorry, yeah.
But
sorry.
yeah, she's very much an Irish girl.
Yeah. And she's working within the Met. And she's had her own issues in the past. We won't go into what happened with her in book 9 in case it's a spoiler for anyone. Because I love how authors of continuing series, you have to bring everyone up to date in case they haven't read any of the other books. In the first 50 pages, just give those breadcrumbs. Like, that's a skill in of itself.
Yeah, because you don't want any spoilers for the previous book either. But you have to make sure that people know why she's not feeling her best or why she's a bit sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tired. So what happens in this book, in The Close?
So in The Close, it was a really self-indulgent one. I sent Maeve and her boss, Josh, off to go undercover as a couple in a nice little suburban town. And they are looking for a murderer, but they're kind of waiting for something to happen. And in the meantime, there's a heat wave. And it's all very...
Just have to take their clothes off.
They have to. It's obligatory. And there's been years of kind of growing sexual tension between them. So it's just, it all kind of comes up.
It's all down to the heat wave. Warren's telling me how much she fancies Josh as well. This
I do.
Was it tough to try and mix the crime part and actually try and bring that romance into it as well?
I mean, I think I got a little bit too keen on the romance.
Yes.
So, like, the first draft, my editor sent it back to me and she was like, no, it's a crime novel. You absolutely can't do some of the things. I might release, like, a director's cut of it at some point.
Give the 50 Shades version of it. Do you know what I mean? Give the one. Because people have been waiting for this for a long time.
Some people have
been.
Yeah, there's definitely two schools of thought. Like, you either love him or hate him. So
Yeah, he's very sexy. With Maeve, though, like, she's lived with you for years now.
Yes.
She will continue to?
I mean, I've just finished writing, or I'm nearly finished writing the 11th book in the series, so, yeah.
Like, it's all murder. How do you, like, what goes on in your head when you're trying to think up of new ways to kill people?
I seem like such a nice person. It's all murder in here, it really is. No, I think it's just natural. Like, I just kind of, wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I'm always thinking like, oh, that would be a good plot, or that'd be a good way to kill someone, or I really want to murder you is the other one.
We had Liz Nugent here the other day talking about her latest book in Strange Ellie Diamond, and she was like, I was just on a road in New Zealand and it was like, don't walk your dog here, they're going to die. And I was like, great place to bury a body. You work in a different... Your brains are... They're attuned, aren't they?
Oh, we absolutely do have radar for, like, good stories and good body dump locations and all of that.
All of it.
Yeah.
And your husband's a criminal barrister as well. So does that help? Are you able to kind of share stories at the dinner table?
We do, and we probably shouldn't. And I'm always waiting to be called into school to be told off. Like, if the children do a disturbing drawing or something.
Oh, the kids, of course.
Yeah, they hear everything.
What are the conversations like at that table?
I mean, dark. They can go quite dark. But like, they're interested. And it's fun, you know, it's nice to talk about. And I always say to them, like, we make all our money from crime as a family, so they might as well hear about it.
They might look at a different type of crime, though.
Over the years, and I know that when it comes to podcasts and true crime, that's kind of a separate thing, but obviously a huge explosion in the popularity. And there have been so many authors of psychological crime are women. But a lot of, you know, P.D. James is something, they've got these ambiguous names because men can be turned off by a female name when it comes to this. How do you find when it comes to your readers? Like, it's having a female protagonist, like even like when you think of a Jane Tennyson, like that, everyone loved Jane Tennyson. Is it the sort of thing that everyone is attracted to? Or do they see the name Jane Casey and go, women?
I think more of my readers are women, but I do have a lot of male readers.
Yeah.
And I think the men maybe are drawn to it slightly different. Like, they like the action, they like the adventure, they like the story and the mystery of the whole thing. And then women get kind of more out of it, I think. sometimes.
Yeah.
There was like a deeper...
Women love true crime.
It's unbelievable.
It's huge, and it's going through such a boom at the minute as well.
Yeah.
Now, one of your books, The Killing Kind, is going to television, and you're working as an executive producer on it. How are you finding being in like a different hat?
It's just fascinating. Like, it really is. And it's kind of amazing to see the characters that I made up in the middle of the pandemic, like walking down a street and having conversations, and they're kind of living. It's amazing. It's really, really interesting to see it come to the screen.
And how involved are you?
Like, I try and stay out of the way a little bit because I don't want to kind of bring them back to my book the whole time, something new. Yeah. And yeah, it's very exciting to see.
I can see you being the Irish person in the corner going, sorry, guys, sorry. They're all mine, but
She
sorry.
didn't actually say that.
Sorry. Oh. But The Killing Kind, it's a standalone book that people are mad for as well, because it brings in elements of, there's a barrister involved and stalking and friend or foe. And do your mates, like as we mentioned, everything is like that, but do your mates, because obviously, with your husband's job or whatever, are they like, are you using my cases for your books?
Oh, very much so, but they love it.
They love it, do they?
People give me anecdotes all the time and say, oh, you should put this in a book. You should put that in a book.
Oh, yeah.
Are they highly offended? And you're like,
little do they know.
That's crap. Are you like, yeah, it's great?
I'm like, I already killed you 3 books ago.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, Jane, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. The Close, it is the 10th in the series, A Maeve Kerrigan Mystery. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Brought in so quickly. Yeah, what have they done? So good.
So
Huge
clever.
Congratulations on it. And thank you so much for joining us today. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Well,
oh, Alan, hi.
Slipped in
There you
there
are,
like a
Slipped in
murderer.
there.
Because I'm going to tell you, coming up on tomorrow's show, Irish stars of Alan Carr's Interior Design Masters will be stopping by. Have you seen it?
That show.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's back.
Following tonight's Oscar Wilde party in LA, we're going to be crossing live to find out if Colin, Brendan, Barry and Kerry actually showed up.
Kerry
of course
will,
they
won't
will.
you?
Zara's been on time.
Yeah,
Zara's
Paul Mescal definitely going.
Yeah,
That's confirmed.
They'll all be there.
It's
And
in LA,
Zara's
we're
gonna
not
be in the
going.
mix as well.
Fine.
And there's spring knits on the catwalk, French toast in the kitchen, and Deric is trying his hand at taekwondo.
Of course he is. Martin, Elaine and Katie are back in the morning from 7. From us, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Like that.